Welcome back to Snackcast, folks.
Yeah, this is going to be a good one.
We are plowing along through The Great Cholesterol Myth. I found it to be a really cool book so far, and we are getting into Chapter 4, The Real Deal on Cholesterol.
What I liked about this chapter, I think, was that, I think I alluded to it in the early part, was you got to kind of dumb it down for me, right? Like, and they did that. They got effective with that.
Yeah.
You know, effectively calling cholesterol the number of boats in the water.
Yeah. So I guess if you were to hit on the main things, right, they speak again to some of the flaws with the standard total cholesterol test. And then they break down why that's flawed. They mainly focused on kind of why it's flawed and what really causes problems. I finally kind of figured that out. The light bulb went on. Right. You know, I was like, right. So give the boat analogy.
So basically what he was saying, and maybe I'm saying this wrong, is cholesterol is obviously good. They've mentioned that before. But then this chapter is pretty much what is cholesterol.
Right.
But it said it's not what the boats are carrying per se, but the number of boats that's in the water.
Okay, so if I can back up, right? A total cholesterol test measures how much cholesterol is in the bloodstream.
Right.
And their argument is, to your point, that the cholesterol has a job and it needs to get delivered to various parts of the body. Your body makes 80% of your own cholesterol to begin with.
I was going to mention that, yeah.
So their point is that the way that cholesterol travels throughout the body, it's not about how much cholesterol is there. It's the vehicles that deliver the cholesterol. So cholesterol, the analogy that they gave is if you poured oil into a lake and expected it to get anywhere with any kind of, that it needs to be encapsulated in a vehicle.
And the vehicle.
And then it could get across the lake.
Right.
Right. The vehicle is lipoproteins.
Right.
Right.
And they said there's like 13 different types of these that they have identified.
Right. So the lipoproteins are
your LDL, your HDL, and a lot more than I knew.
Right. But they are the boat that you're speaking of that...
The lipoproteins, yes.
Right.
That carry the particular types of cholesterol. Yeah.
So their analogy goes further to say that when there's a whole lot of boats on the river in the bloodstream, the chances for collision or accident are greater.
Right.
And that a better test than total cholesterol is, I forget the name of the test. I could actually look it up.
MMR.
Is that
the MMR? NMR.
Okay.
NMR.
Yeah. In that test, the lipoprotein count in the bloodstream.
Right.
So, I can't say that yet. It's in the next chapter.
Oh.
It reminded me of part of... Yeah, I won't say it yet.
So what I really found interesting was that atherosclerosis, I'll say that good this time, atherosclerosis is, quite frankly, the hardening of the vessel, right? The hardening of the arteries. That's what that is.
And it's caused by contaminants in the air. It's caused by...
cigarette smoke, high blood pressure, LDL particles.
Yeah. I'm sure alcohol probably.
Alcohol, sugar, I'm sure, right? So what I really found interesting was that how you get to these calcium deposits. So the atherosclerosis happens because of smoking or drinking or any of the things we just mentioned, right?
It can be environmental outside of your control.
Right.
Yeah, stress.
So the arteries get hardened, right? And here comes your LDL particles, and that's why they're picking on LDL, right? Going through and boom, they kind of suck into the side of the wall. And now the body is like, all right, we got a problem, Houston. Starts to send out all the go-getters to fix this problem.
Right, macrophages and eventually calcium.
And then the calcium goes, we got a problem here. I got to deposit calcium over here, and that's your plaque. Yep. Right? And then your plaque breaks off, and then that's your stroke.
There was something about a fat cap. There was, it's a lot, right?
Yeah.
But bottom line, the immune system attacks that point. And it starts with the macrophages, and they become what, like seafoam filled entities, because they eat up the damage, and then the fat cap comes in to cover them up, and then the calcium comes in to cover them up.
It was pretty interesting, right? So what I did really learn, right, is the one ratio that you want to pay attention to. And everybody's looking for what is the marker, right? And the marker is high triglycerides to HDL. That's the ratio that you want. The higher that ratio to HDL goes, you have a 16 times greater risk of heart disease. That is 1,600%.
Yeah.
Right.
So to use regular numbers, right, a typical triglyceride number is somewhere around the 150s. A typical HDL number is somewhere around 50.
Right.
So at 150 and 50, that would be a 3.0 ratio.
Right.
150 divided by 50, right? They recommend 2.0 or lower is ideal, right? The 3 point something is not terrible.
3.5 was not terrible, but it wasn't good.
Right.
Right.
And obviously you get higher than that.
It was interesting because I went back and I looked at mine blood work from 4 months ago when we did our blood work, and I was at 2.97. I'm like, man, let's fix that. I can fix that. I can see where I'm at.
So you know this because you were part of it, but Jarvis, our finance guy, walks in and he goes, "Hey, what are you looking at?" And I said, "Oh, it's really interesting." I showed him specifically that part, and he went, "Man, I'm gonna go look up my labs." And he comes back in with his phone. Dude, 75 triglycerides and 79 HDL. He's below 1.
He's
gonna live forever.
Superman.
Yeah, I mean,
Superman.
And the interesting part, though, is if you did the total cholesterol analysis, I think he can. I hope Jarvis, if you are upset with me, then go talk to Kevin. I think his total came in at like 214.
Right, and then
which the benchmark for a lot of doctors is 200.
Yeah, they would take one look at him and they would go, statins for you, right?
Yeah.
And your statins are designed to reduce the total cholesterol in your body, right? So they statins for you. Here we go.
Yeah.
And he's a guy who is arguably in better health. No, yeah, he is in better health than I am.
Right. Works out all the time. His diet, I think, is
okay.
It's not like he's a hardcore carnivore or keto. He just kind of eats normal food, And so, yeah. One of the things I did want to, I don't want to jump topics.
Are you about to go into the side topic at the end of the chapter about?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going into transition.
The gray boxes here.
Those are really weird, fascinating nuggets.
It's stuff we've heard before, but they kind of lay out the science behind it. That bottom line, I mean, is it too quick to just summarize it?
No, I'd say it.
Dietary cholesterol does not affect your cholesterol.
Right, and even the example that if you are not eating egg yolks, and my sister, if you watch this, she was just talking about her husband and stents and this and this and this, and they had a very healthy breakfast the other day, and they just ate the egg whites. Nonsense.
Wrong.
There is no correlation between the food you eat from a fat cholesterol perspective to serum blood cholesterol. So if a doctor's giving you nutritional guidance to you can't eat fats or saturated fats.
So let's give the numbers they give in the book is 99.6% of people dietary cholesterol does not matter. The reason, the 0.4%, the exception is for the 0.4% of the population with a genetic condition known as familial hypercholesterolemia, if I said that right. So if you're in the 0.4%
family high cholesterol, is that what that was?
Yeah, but no one's got it. I say no one loosely. Among
0.04, right?
330 million Americans, I guess 0.04% would equal significant amount of people,
Yeah.
but if you look at just number of people, but statistically, none of us have it. So
we talk about diet, and again, I go back to your vegetable oils and your soybean oils and your canolas. These are crap. I would avoid these like, the plague. Your sugars, your smoking, too much alcohol. These are things that I would correct if you had
absolutely
atherosclerosis or poor. I'm not even going to say high cholesterol because I'm just going to say poor cholesterol.
Fix the inputs first,
right,
and then the obvious recommendation then to further help the cardiovascular would be exercise.
Yeah, absolutely. We don't say enough about exercise lately.
Right.
But very good.
Right. So, no, that was a good one. The real deal on cholesterol, that it's actually not bad. Your body makes 80%. Dietary doesn't matter.
They went on to talk about how old these tests are. And we talked about the NMR, but they basically said the technology that we have today is phenomenal. What example of the tongue depressor?
They gave an example that when you were a kid, your doctor did the tongue depressor.
He came to your house,
shot the light in your eye, checked your ear, and then he sent you off. Well, for whatever reason, when we're in our 40s and we have those symptoms, we go to the doctor, and if they were to do the same thing, we would call red flag. We'd be, why didn't you test me on this machine or scan me on this or something? And they equate the old school cholesterol testing of good versus bad as the tongue depressor.
And he went on to actually say, I don't know the name of the test, but he said there is a test to test for plaque in your body.
Yeah. Oh,
it was in there. So,
LPPLA2.
Right. If something is, if you feel like something is wrong and you do have like a tendency that you're going to get plaque, that's the test you do. You don't just go, oh yeah, high cholesterol. That's a cop out.
Yeah.
Do further work.
Yep. So yeah, capital L, lowercase p, hyphen, all caps, PLA, number 2.
And people, they know me about, how I feel about elongated fasts, 72 hours or more. And after reading this chapter, I believe it just the same. I think that when you give your body a break, it can go to work on those vessels. It can go to work on that LDL that it needs to take out.
What do we know about prolonged fasting? It stimulates new stem cell growth, and it kickstarts the internal repair process.
Yeah,
more than just arteries, all kinds of stuff.
All kinds of stuff. And I think that break is really important, especially if people are having, clots and blockages and these types of things. You've got to go into an emergent repair mode.
So probably I guess the main takeaway is that LDL particles in the number don't matter. It's where they end up, when they get stuck.
What boats they're on.
Yeah, what boats they're on. And, obviously once they get stuck, they start getting attacked by oxidative stress, inflammation, etc. And, of course, if that breaks loose, then you're in real trouble.
That's a stroke. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Questions? No?
Questions? All right. Questions, comments, concerns, email us at snackcast@yes.fit.
Stay moving.
See ya.